Monkey. Man. Old monkey. Old man. Monkey gets old. Man gets old. This has been the rule since the beginning of time. But then why does this monkey get old, but this man does not? Let's take a step back. So lately, the Sethatari research team have been hard at work on a confidential project when we came across an old video game question. Is Donkey Kong from the 1981 arcade game Donkey Kong the same person as Cranky Kong from Donkey Kong Country? This idea is supported by several instances in the Donkey Kong Country series. For example, in Donkey Kong Country 2, Cranky is quoted saying, "Whisking off maidens and throwing barrels 7 days a week I was. That's how I got where I am today, you know. Hard work." In addition, the instruction manual for Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo states, Cranky was the original Donkey Kong who battled Mario in several of his own games. Okay, so that makes sense, right? Cranky Kong is Donkey Kong from the original arcade games, and Donkey Kong is a grown-up version of Donkey Kong Jr. Except, the Donkey Kong Country games lead us to believe that Cranky is actually Donkey Kong's granddad and not his dad. Okay, so then Donkey Kong Jr. is Cranky's son, and Donkey Kong is actually Donkey Kong the Third, Cranky's grandson. Only then, there have been numerous sources claiming that Donkey Kong is actually Donkey Kong Jr. Loveday, the story writer for Donkey Kong Country 2, said in a 1999 online Q&A that the current Donkey Kong was intended to be an adult Donkey Kong Jr. Nintendo of America UK makes the same claim on their page for the GBA port for Donkey Kong Country. And finally, Donkey Kong 64 has Cranky Kong calling Donkey Kong his good-for-nothing son, not grandson. So, which is it? Well, according to Greg Mails, who directed and designed many of the early Donkey Kong Country games, Cranky Kong calling Donkey Kong's son in 64 is because he's going senile. So, okay, at least we have that. But here's the thing though, if Donkey Kong Sr., Cranky Kong, is supposed to have fought Mario in the original Donkey Kong, then why does Cranky look so fucking old and Mario looks exactly the same? I mean, the dude's had a son, grandson, and retired in like at most 10 years. Sounds off to me, and we know that OG Donkey Kong and Mario are the same age because they're both kidnapped as infants in Yoshi's Island DS. There is a speculation out there, and I really don't like it because I don't really like to speculate this much, but the explanation given is that OG Mario from Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. is not the modern Donkey Kong, but instead Mario Sr., Mario's papa. This would make Pauline not Pauline, but her OG name, Lady, and potentially Mario and Luigi's mom, I guess. Okay, so that explains everything, right? Except, not really, because of course it can't be that simple. In Super Mario Odyssey, we reunite modern Mario with Pauline, who clearly makes reference to being kidnapped by Donkey Kong in the past, and being saved by Mario. Okay, I think I can explain this too, but I'm gonna have to start from the very, very beginning. This is OG Donkey Kong's home, Donkey Kong Island. This is the home of the Kongs. The Kongs had life pretty good here on DK Island. Bananas were plenty, animals were chill except the ones that weren't, but the Kongs were too powerful for them to do anything about it anyway. Life was good. At least, life was good, until dumb, stupid humans showed up for those sweet, sweet resources. Factories, mines, pollutions, all plagued the island after a while. So, the Kongs got pissed, and they decided to tell the humans to fuck off. So, the humans must have went through some sort of war with the Kongs ultimately winning. But, they suffered a lot of loss, including prisoner of war Kongs that got sent overseas. This included the original Donkey Kong, and he left poor wrinkly Kong alone with their new son, Junior. Damn. What exactly happened to all the other Kongs? I don't know. Some of them must have went to the Smithy Gang from Super Mario RPG. Others probably went all over the place, zoos. But this particular Donkey Kong It ended up being sold off to carpenter Mario Sr., who lived in Big City, where he'd use him for circus acts to make fat stacks. One day though, OG Donkey Kong escapes like the badass that he is, steals the carpenter's lady, and puts on a barrel-tossing show at the top of Mario's workplace. Mario Sr. is somewhat of a jump man though, and saves his lady, recapturing the ape. Mario Sr. though will soon have to deal with Donkey Kong Jr., Donkey Kong's son, who somehow learned of his father's captor and decides it's time to go rescue him. And he does. He makes it to Big City and he rescues his father. The two of them make their escape from the big city and find a new, maybe temporary home, and it's lush and green just like their original home. This home though is actually Stanley's greenhouse, and he manages to poison the Kongs long enough for Animal Control to show up and recapture both the Kongs. Animal Control ends up giving the Kongs back to Carpenter Mario because Donkey Kong was microchipped or some shit, but Mario actually doesn't want Donkey Kong back because he was such an asshole. Mario does want Donkey Kong Jr. though, as he feels that he could train him better for a circus than he did the original Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong Sr. though is deported back to Donkey Kong Island, where for whatever reason he changes his name from Donkey Kong to Cranky Kong. Maybe Mario Sr. renames him Cranky Kong after he threw a little tantrum and kidnapped his lady, or maybe he just wants to distance himself from his original name, trying to make a new start for himself. Whatever the reason, Cranky Kong continues to live on Donkey Kong Island, growing bitter, sarcastic, and cruel because of all the PTSD that he had to go through. Meanwhile, Donkey Kong Jr., now Donkey Kong Sr. because his father changed his name, grows up in Mario's little circus, meets a mate, and has a kid of his own, which he named Donkey Kong Jr. I understand that the whole name thing is kind of stupid, but whatever, it works well enough for this theory. Anyways, while Donkey Kong is busy raising Donkey Kong Jr., Mario Sr. is busy raising his own two kids, Mario and Luigi. The Mario brothers would grow up and inherit the Kongs from their father, who I guess died or some shit at this point. So from here on out, when I refer to Mario, I'm referring to the modern Mario. Mario Sr. is dead. Mario didn't want the Kongs, however, so he kinda really didn't pay much attention to them. And when they saw their chance, they escaped. They followed in the footsteps of old Cranky Kong, escaped, and kidnapped Mario's good friend Pauline. You see, the Kongs knew that this was their ticket back to their island. They saw it happen to old Cranky Kong, and they wanted to repeat history and make it happen again. So, Mario chases those Kongs all around, trying to save his good friend Pauline. It starts out in the construction site like it did all those years ago, and ends up in a confrontation in the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario ends up stopping the Kongs, saving his friend Pauline, and tells the Kongs that he actually never wanted them to begin with, and sets them free, helping them get back to their island, but not before a quick selfie. So, the Kongs are finally a family again, reunited with Mom and Grandma Wrinkly Kong, and Dad and Grandpa Cranky Kong. Unfortunately though, their home isn't as peaceful as they thought it would be at the moment. See, it turns out that after the Kongs chased out the humans, the Kremlings of Crocodile Isle used the remains of the humans' military supplies and whatnot to wage war on the Kongs for their land. This conflict would later go on to be known as the Crimean War. In the end, the Kongs would fend off the Kremlings, but not without suffering some heavy casualties, including Donkey Kong Sr., explaining his absence from the series, and why Cranky Kong would be forced to take on the fatherly position for Donkey Kong Jr., and why Donkey Kong Jr. just goes by Donkey Kong. In the end though, Donkey Kong would grow up to become a great protector of Donkey Kong Island, wearing his father's necktie with honor. Also, Cranky Kong is going senile after his wife dies, and is confusing his grandson for his son. So, does my theory make sense? Does it clear up the confusion? Or does it make no sense at all? If I missed any contradictions, let me know in the comments, and I guess video over. Go play video games.